Homeworthy. Welcome to my home in Barrington, Illinois. I'm Kyla. Let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Kyla. I live in Barrington, Illinois, and I'm a content creator and blogger of House of Hipsters. My home is located in Barrington, Illinois, and I live in the Biltmore neighborhood, which is more of like a resort kind of neighborhood with a little bit more woods, and it really feels like you're by the lake, which actually we're near Honey Lake. We moved to this home about 8-9 years ago from Hoffman Estates, Illinois. And we were moving from more of like a cookie cutter neighborhood into something we wanted actually mid-century modern, but that didn't happen, obviously. This is more of a traditional home. But the neighborhood just sold us. The trees, the kind of winding roads, because it's more of a, like, if you're coming and driving through my neighborhood, you're going to be driving and having to kind of move over to shift for another car to come through. It's a crazy little neighborhood, but it's so quiet and so quaint. So when we found this house, we said, we love the neighborhood, the house works, let's move. Welcome to my front room. This is kind of the area where if you don't want to watch television, this is where you're gonna hang out. So this is where I have my morning coffee pretty much every single day, and I'm scrolling social media, doing my initial to-do list. I love, love, love this piece in particular. It is it's a little tank top, and it's just this kind of quirky little thing. It's by an artist, his name is Harvey, last name is Harvey. And then this piece too is by an artist. He's kind of local to the Chicago area. He actually lives in, I think it's South Bend, Indiana, and his name is Chris Heck. So his art is super cool. He has amazing, amazing ceramics. This is probably the most comfortable sofa that we have in the entire house. When I first showed it on TikTok, someone called it the croissant. So it has been named the croissant ever since. So we all kind of fight over who's gonna sit on the croissant. This is a sofa that's by Ralph Lauren. It's been recovered in linen by Holly Hunt. And I actually purchased it at an estate sale. So, I mean, you're talking a very expensive, very high-end luxury sofa for about, I think it was under $500. Total steal. And it is comfortable, and it is a tank to sit in. I also used to own a vintage shop in downtown Barrington, and this was one of the lamps that was in it. It's by an artist, his name is Pilardi, I believe, and it's from Italy. It kind of looks like multiple pieces of ice cubes, and it's super heavy. And I just couldn't, when I closed the store during the pandemic, I couldn't part with it. So it came to live here with me. And the sheep is someone that always gets a lot of love on social media. I got him from a hunt club in Barrington Hills, actually, at an estate sale. You'll find that most of the pieces in the house are from estate sales. This is all pretty much vintage as well, or artisan pieces. This is a funky little weird sculpture that is slightly creepy, but slightly cool. So she's one of my favorites. And this painting is by Robert Cook. And the books are not just for show. They are definitely something that we look through for inspiration here at House of Hipsters. All the paintings here are actual paintings. They're not prints. This is a lamp by Rudy Stern. It's actually neon, And it looks super cool and super fun, and actually had that in the shop as well, along with another one that lives upstairs in my office. I couldn't get rid of them, so I ordered them myself. This is a piece as well that gets a lot of attention. I saw it probably 2 to 3 years prior to me actually purchasing it, but the pandemic hit, it was really expensive at the time, and I said, you know, I just gotta wait, I can't spend that much money, but I never stopped thinking about it. It's a gramophone, and little pieces actually come off of it and work and turn, and it's just a super cool, funky linen sculpture. The art here is from a local shop. It probably needs to be reframed. You will notice that on the walls, you will see a lot of holes still, and that's okay. My house isn't perfect, and I tend to move my art around a lot. So when I do that, I just leave the holes and leave the nails because it'll probably swap out in another week or so, maybe a month. You'll also find lots of animals. Here's another little cheetah guy. He's from an estate sale. A lot of the art that I gravitate towards is a little bit more abstract. There are not a lot of portraits in here. I do have a few, like this woman here. She's actually a print, and then the artist kind of painted over her. And I've had her for, wow, maybe 15 years or so. And I love her. I think she's super fun. She is one of the only portraits that we have here, besides the portrait in the dining room. When people walk into this room, I just want them to feel it's a little bit more formal, but yet it's still really relaxed and chill. You'll see that there's a lot of white in here, which gives it a little bit more of that formal feel. You have an all-white rug here from Citizenry, and I love it. If it gets dirty, it's okay. It just cleans up. It's fine. But you will feel like this is a bit more of a refined room. My style is really difficult to define. In fact, I've asked this on my social media to my followers many, many times, and they all come back to eclectic, modern, and vintage. So I guess I'm gonna call it eclectic, modern, vintage. My home is always changing. So if you come into my home next week, it may or may not look the same as it does right now. And I know that sounds really weird, but it's constantly moving around and shifting. I don't shop for things as often as I did before, but if I find something that I'm like, I love this piece, it speaks to me, I need it, that is when I'm gonna buy it. And I will find a place in my home for it. Otherwise, unless I have a specific need, I'm probably just going to shift and move around what I have. Off of the front room, we enter the living room. This is where we watch TV. It's basically a family room. All the kids hang out here and they have fun, they relax. This is the place where you're gonna chill out and just kick back. And it may look a little formal, but I will say that it's just vintage. So if something breaks in here, it's not a big deal. If something spills in here, it's not a big deal. This chair is by Dongia, and it was purchased from a vintage dealer here in Chicago. It was striped at the time, and I reupholstered it in this fabric from Calico. This is a piece of art, and it's kind of naughty, but it makes me laugh because, you know, I think it's a good reminder not to get caught up into the social media world. And since I am a content creator and this is where I spend most of my life, it makes sense for me. So that is really a piece that spoke to me, and I had to have it. It's by an artist, her name is Frances Berry, and she is from Memphis. Both of these cabinets here that flank either side of the fireplace are from Facebook Marketplace, and they just stole my heart immediately. I, of course, have a little bit of whimsy where you have the melted disco ball. On the coffee table, this is my collection of vintage hotel keys. I love vintage hotel keys, and not just like simple hotel keys that you have the plastic. Like these are from crazy hotels in Bangkok and Cairo and Italy. This one has a knocker on it, and it also has a bar key on it. So it's super fun. And this one is actually a bell. We come over here to the wet bar. This was something that when we first moved in, I didn't know if I really needed a wet bar. I thought maybe we just rip it out. But I will tell you, when it comes to having parties, this thing is a game changer. It is so nice to have guests be able to come up, make their own drinks, use another, sink or whatever, and actually move from the kitchen into this room. So it definitely helps with that movement back and forth when you're entertaining. This is not just one piece of solid quartz. It's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5 over here. And we fabricated it so it looks like one big chunk, and then it was slid over onto steel brackets to secure it to the wall. This mirror is a twin dolphin mirror, and it is actually, I think it's called entwined dolphin, if I remember correctly. It's not vintage, you can still buy it, but it is by, I think it's by Carver. I can't remember the name anymore. Anyway, it's a really high-end expensive piece. I bought it on an estate sale, and I actually bought it over the phone, where I was talking to the person who was running the estate sale, and also another dealer was trying to purchase it at the same time, and my PayPal went through first. So I was the one who was able to go home with it. And it is definitely one of those showstopper pieces. I love it. This is a painting by Len Koukanis, and it was just one of those funky, cool, abstract pieces that really spoke to me. I actually bought it at auction, and it was just delivered probably a couple weeks ago. So this is one of the newer pieces. I'm not sure if it'll stay here, but for right now, this is where it's gonna live. If you come over into this corner, this is a little lamp that I got from a vintage shop down in the city. It's called Redefined, and it's definitely one of those places where I find true gems. This is not a thrift store. This is one of those places where you go to find those Shazam pieces that really stand out. This is a piece that I got from the Randolph Flea Market. It was $35. It's by an artist who is out of Detroit. It is named on the back. I can't tell you what her name is, but she was kind of this unknown woman. It's two women that look like they're on the beach, and it's probably one of my favorite pieces. I absolutely love it. And now that we have the blue couch in here from Jason Home, I thought that this piece really tied in. So this piece was in storage for a while, and it just came out not too long ago. This is a burled wood planter or plant stand, and there's a lot of wood you'll notice in this room. There's a couple other burl wood pieces as well. Just thought, you can't have enough plant stands. I think they're trending right now, but they're really great just to add some height into a corner. This would be a really dead empty corner if these few pieces weren't here. So you don't need a lot, just a little oomph. And a plant stand is a really good thing to use in a corner. This globe lamp was purchased from a vintage shop in Highland Park, Illinois. It really doesn't have a maker or a name that I know of. Some people like to, attribute it to Sonneman, but I'm not quite sure, and it's not marked, but it is definitely a fun little piece. It's kind of weird when you get it into a room because it is a bit taller and a bit heftier. So I left it as a floor lamp. When I saw it, somebody had it styled on an actual table. So it is a versatile piece. It's just kind of funky and weird. So here we go. This home was so traditional when we moved in. The draperies were very heavy. There were big valances. It looked very 1980s, which the home was built in 1986. So it really fit the look and feel. But everything is just changeable. So I knew that this was a place that I could make my own. Now let's move into the kitchen. The showpiece here is definitely the island. It is made from quartz by Cambria. This design is called Claridge. And when we renovated the kitchen, it was one of those spaces where we didn't want to spend a lot of money, but you say, I don't want to spend a lot of money in a kitchen, and you know, it's a kitchen renovation. You're going to spend a lot of money, especially when you're dealing with all new stone. This was probably the piece that we put the most money into when fabricating. It has these brass sort of separator in here, and it was definitely one of those things that I threw my fabricator through a loop when I said, I just want a brass inlay. And he said, how are we gonna do that? So this piece is actually a piece of wood that has been laminated with brass, like just clad in brass. So this is actually just a piece of wood that divides the two chunks. But you can tell that it was mitered so well. They matched up the design. So this is a piece, this is a piece, and then these are pieces to make it look like extra chunky. We wanted to do this on a budget. So to do that, we kept the footprint basically the same, meaning we weren't changing where the water pipe was. We weren't changing where the gas lines were. We weren't changing out the appliances. However, we did change out our cooktop just because it was older. And when you have an older cooktop and you're putting it into a piece of stone, you're basically set to that size. So we said, okay, let's swap that one out so that one is at least new. The cabinets were all original to the kitchen. If I had to do it all over again, I may actually switch them. I do love that they go all the way up to the ceiling. At the time when we did this, it was 2019, I believe, and the cabinets were really in great shape still, but they were original to the house, meaning the owners who owned it prior to us did sort of a flip in here. They swapped out the cabinets, but they used their original granite countertops. And the granite was starting to pit and get chipped and look kind of yeesh. So that was definitely something that both countertops needed to be switched out along with the island. To give the cabinets a little bit of a oomph, we did swap out the original hardware, which was more of the basic builder grade, to these Buster and Punch brass knurled pieces. It definitely gives it a little bit more of a glam kind of look and a little bit more of a higher end look rather than the smaller brush nickel pieces that you would get that is a little bit more of a builder grade. And then if you come over here, this is our pantry, and the door is actually from Facebook Marketplace. I drove, I want to say 8 hours round trip in order to get this. We painted it, we kind of repainted it black. It was already black. I don't know when it actually dates to, but it just kind of has that old new kind of mix and match feel that I like to decorate with. So you have the glam and then you have kind of the grungy, creepy old. Of course, no kitchen is complete without a giant cheetah, right? This guy was found at an estate sale. It was actually my friend Trent who was hosting it, and he called me up and said, I have a giant cheetah that you need to have. And you always need good friends like that. The light fixture here is from Hudson Valley. I believe this one is one of the Troy lighting pieces. Don't look at it too closely because you will see that the glass rods need to be cleaned. I know that when I first put this in, I said, I don't care if I have to clean the glass rods. I want to have something like this crazy glam over the top chandelier over my cooktop. If I had to do all over again, I would not put this up there. It is one bear to clean, but it looks really good, doesn't it? Just don't look too close. Of course, no island is complete without a chicken bowl. It's kind of quirky, it's kind of fun. It holds our fruit. You know, it's just kind of one of those talking point pieces that catches your attention when a guest comes over. And it's just fun and weird. The chairs at the eat-in kitchen have changed out a lot, and these are probably, I want to say, the third or fourth iteration. They were found at an estate sale. As you can tell, everything here was basically purchased at an estate sale. The fabric isn't perfect, but the covering is a vinyl, and when you have kids who are, I mean, at that time younger, when they spill ketchup on it, it's okay. The kitchen tables that are, or the kitchen, the chairs that I had in here before were a leather and super fragile, and they just were constantly breaking. So these are kind of tanks that really take a beating. I think the one thing that has not moved in the entire time that we have lived here is this tulip table. And it is not an original mid-century modern vintage piece. It's a knockoff from Target, and I'm okay with it because this is where the kids eat. This is our primary dining place, so every morning, every afternoon, every evening, you're gonna find us right here. And if they spill, if they stain, if they scratch, it's okay. And this art piece here is by my friend Kelly Caldwell. He is an artist out of more of the southern, or not southern Illinois, but southern Chicago side. I believe he lives in Flossmoor, Illinois. Super talented. He does a lot of these black pieces, which you'll see another piece by him in the hallway. And I just love that. I think my ADHD brain gets confused sometimes with patterns and colors and things like that, and I get bored with it. However, this is just one of those pieces that is monotone, and I can live with it. It doesn't have a lot of that crazy stuff. It just blends in and adds texture to this wall. This lamp here is also by Hudson Valley. It kind of has a fun little Art Deco kind of style to it, which is one of those different styles that I like to mix and match in small doses into the house. I think it vibes really well with mid-century modern and postmodern. These bar stools are from Scout Studio Design. They're out of Dallas, and although they're white, they wipe up really well. So these have been in the house for 5 years. Pretty much whenever the kids come over, they're gonna eat pizza here. They're gonna eat spaghetti here. When they have their friends over, they've spilled their Capri Suns on it, and it wipes up nice and clean. They still have that glam look though. Off the kitchen, we have Potty Paradise. This is a showstopper of a bathroom. Kind of crazy and wackadoo with its crazy wallpaper and design, but it's one of those spaces that just is supposed to pack a punch. I chose the wallpaper. It was between a very safe option and this. And I asked two friends, two very different styles. And of course, the one who is safe said safe, and the one who is kind of wackadoo said go wackadoo. You know, I said, if I hate it, I'll just redo it. This is, again, probably, I have a lot of favorite rooms, but this bathroom might be my most favorite room. And it is also one of the first spaces that I designed in the house. The chandelier that's in here is actually a lucite piece from a vintage shop that's actually no longer open anymore. Her name was the Savoy Flea. She closed it during the pandemic. It's just a really fun wow piece that I also paired with a ceiling medallion. All right, we have one of the very few portraits in here. This is by an artist, his last name is Sangha, and apparently he studied under Picasso. You don't know much about him. He did do a lot of abstracts later on in his work, but this is one of his earlier pieces, so it is a little bit more rare because it is a portrait. I purchased it from an estate sale, and I love it. It does have red in it, which you will see that I don't have a lot of red in my home, but it just works really well in this hallway. This piece here has a lot of texture. It is again by my friend Kelly Caldwell. He and I actually worked on this one together. I like to go down to his studio and just have a fun little play with paint day. So that's what this piece came out of, and I just love it, and it's super special, and it was made by me and a friend. This chest has lived in the foyer for quite some time. It does kind of get a little bit of a rearrangement, but for the most part, this is it. This little trinket piece is actually by my daughter. And she loves that she kind of makes the vignette every once in a while. But this piece is a true Dorothy Draper. And it's one of her chests that's called the España chest. The lighting on here is by Artemida, and just a simple vase. And then this antique mirror, which I bought at auction from Rivet Auction House. What inspires me when I decorate my home? I'm gonna really say whatever brings me joy, because there are no rules in here. There are no, I don't wanna say there are no trends, because there are trends inside the space, but if I love it, I'm gonna make it work. And the one thing that I had when we moved into this house was, I'm gonna put everything that I love into one room and then edit it out. So it's really not this pattern matches with this color, matches with, you know, this style. It is more or less, these are the things that make me smile and bring me joy. Now we can go into the dining room. This again was one of the first rooms that I started working on in the house. When we moved in, these chairs were first purchased in pink. And when I bought them, I thought the fabric was great, but then I got them and the fabric was not great. So we recently reupholstered them in green. I do miss the pink a little bit, but the green is just fun. Plus, this is a performance fabric, so when the kids spill on it, it's no big deal. This marble table was actually purchased from Facebook Marketplace, one of my favorite places. And it is a 1950s, they told me it was a pastry table, but I think it's too short to be a pastry table, so I'm not really sure. And the tabletop is an actual marble, so it is a beast to move. However, it does come apart. The centerpiece is, you know, it's just kind of one of those things that I threw together. I thought it was really interesting, and I actually picked up this styling technique from a woman who owned an antique shop in Barrington, and she was styling everything with pieces of coral, and I was like, wow, that's super cool. And I found this brass bowl, which is by Maitland Smith, at the flea market for $5, and I thought, wow, it would look really cool with those coral pieces. So just kind of threw it together. So if you want an easy centerpiece idea that adds a lot of sculpture and interest, this is a really easy DIY. This over here is a hutch that we think is probably from the 1930s, 1940s. It was purchased from a thrift store, and it actually lights up, which is super cool. I decided to use it more as a bar. This for me gives us more versatility and a way to actually use it where I'm not showcasing just my collections, because I do have a lot of collections, but I just don't want them everywhere. So in here you will see that there's a lot of different glasses, bar glasses, that are all kind of mishmashed together, and I have to thank John Darien for giving me that little styling tip. This is something that he had in his house, and I said, ooh, I'm going to take that. When you're looking at an estate sale or vintage shop or thrift shop and you see a piece that you love, definitely grab it immediately, because if you love it, somebody else is going to love it too. So this is a piece that when I saw it, I said, put a sold sign on it immediately, because a couple other people started coming closer to it and my heart started to race. And I said, I need to have that now. So don't hesitate when you're looking for vintage pieces and you're at an estate sale or you're at a thrift shop. When you're at a vintage shop, it's a little easier, especially if it's not busy. But let me tell you, those estate sale people, they are no joke. This mirror has been in here for a little while. It was also purchased online at an auction house. I don't know when exactly the age is on this, but it's pretty old because these are molded pieces. Because it's so big, it's a little more difficult to hang on the wall, and we're not sure if it's gonna live in here or not. So you'll notice that it's kind of sitting on one of those rubber skid pieces. And we're debating on putting it upstairs in the bedroom, which you will see shortly, and then you can give me your opinion on that in the comments, where you think it should go, whether it should live in here or whether it should go upstairs to the bedroom. But carrying this thing upstairs is kind of one of those, I don't want to do it, so I've dragged my feet on it a little bit. You will see that this piece here is from an art gallery by Jillian Bryce. This is one of the newest pieces that is in here. I just really love the colors, and I think it really kind of vibes here, but then also it has a little bit of the pink, which kind of is a nod to the pink chairs that used to be in here. Rest in peace. These two pieces of art, this is by a woman, her name is Ronnie Nicole. You can find her on Instagram, and she actually does these little plaster pieces with like florals, and it's really, really beautiful. And this is a piece by Peter Keel, one of the few, but it is kind of more of a abstract portrait, if you will. If you look over here, we have a print. This is actually a Picasso, but it's not a real Picasso. It is a print. It is from the Savoy Flea, who I also purchased that lamp in Potty Paradise from, the chandelier. And it was just one of those pieces that really spoke to me. I absolutely love her. And she is the first piece that we hung in the house. Literally, we closed on the house and I hung her on the wall. This lamp is a George Kovacs lamp. It is a little bit more rare because the umbrella part, it's from the 70s. So this umbrella is just really, really, really fragile, and they just didn't last very long. So if you ever find one of these, grab it immediately. This is a sculpture by a local artist who was also an art teacher at the one of the Chicago art schools, and her name is Doris. Last name is escaping me. She passed away. I went to her estate sale and purchased it, and I absolutely love it. You will also see a lot of little monkeys like this in the house. This one is named Ethan. For a while, I thought he had human ashes in him for maybe like a brief 2-3 hour stint. And it was this whole thing on Instagram stories that kind of went oddly viral, but it was fun little story. He's from the Culligan man's house, who is actually like the real Culligan man, who was the inventor of the Culligan water thing. And I went to his estate sale and he was there, and there was a lot of strange things there. Very, very strange, which kind of led down a path of human ashes. But it's not. He's not filled with human ashes. The side table was purchased from CB2 at their warehouse place. They have a warehouse of sample store in Naperville, Illinois. So if you're there, I'm sharing a very secret spot that no one really knows about. Now you do. But it was a great piece. It stores a lot of, just extra decor that's in the house that kind of moves around. It doesn't have a home. So if you open these doors, that's probably what you will find. And this, remember my friend Trent that I said gave me the cheetah? He also gave me this. This is a giant display champagne bottle that is vintage. Putting this in the dining room was, it's a really, really big statement piece. It kind of moved around from room to room, but it is plastic. So because it's plastic, it's a little easier to knock over. And we have a giant dog and 2 kids. So they run around. It's a lot safer in here than it is out in one of the other rooms. So this extra large ram was purchased from Rivage Auction House. And this is kind of one of those life lessons that if you purchase something online on an auction house, always check the measurements, because I thought he was more like this size, and he's a bench. So you can actually sit on him. He's super comfortable. It's by an artist. Her name is Edna Cataldo, and we have named this ram Gordon Ramsay because we just thought that was funny. He does have, you know, like a ceramic face, and then the horns are, you know, really sculptural and funky. So he's kind of one of those weird pieces that hasn't quite found a home because he is so large, but this is where he stays right now. The rug here is from Annie Selke. It's their Hugo rug. You can still purchase this. It has a really thick pile and it doesn't shed that much. So I really, really, really love this piece. It's probably one of my most favorite rugs in the entire house. That's about it for here. So why don't we go upstairs? When it comes to personal style, what I love to do is buy a piece that really speaks to me. It may be $5. It may be $5,000. If I think that I love it that much, that I want to spend that much money on it, I will. But if it's something that's $5 and it's sitting next to something that's $5,000, it's just going to kind of mesh and meld together, kind of like having that mid-century modern, you know, vintage kind of look and feel. Everything's kind of mishmashed and mismatched. I started sharing my home online about 12 years ago, and it was kind of all by accident. Like, I didn't set out to become a content creator. In fact, when I started out in 2012, 2013, this was not a job. This was not something that people set out to do. I was just sharing my home online for fun. And it was back when Instagram was hashtags and challenges and pretty flat lays. So all of this has kind of evolved into this odd job that I never thought would be a job. But it all kind of started when I had my daughter. She's my second child. And I was working in an advertising agency as their creative director for graphic design. And I just kind of lost myself creatively. So this was a way for me to understand social media, because you have to think 12 years ago, you weren't really marketing on Facebook. You weren't really marketing on Instagram. You didn't see ads everywhere. And yeah, I needed to learn. So I created a client of my own called House of Hipsters, and here we are. Welcome to my home office. This is where, do they say this is where the magic happens? I guess, for a content creator. This is where I spend most of my days. The sofa is where my husband or my kids come in to say hello to me during, you know, their break times, or when they want to come say hi after school. My husband when he's in between meetings or wants to talk. Also, if a child is in trouble, we tell them to have a seat. So this is the You're in Trouble chair as well. The art that's over the top, that's one of those eye-catching pieces people usually ask me about. It was purchased for $25 from an estate sale. And when I got it home, I posted the signature on Instagram and said, "Help me, who is this?" And someone texted me and said, "This is by Gino Hollander, and he's an actually somewhat famous artist." So it was a steal of a deal, and I got super lucky. Those things don't happen very often, so when they do, I love it. You'll also see that I have a lot of funky art kind of all over the place. This piece is by Tony Curry. He does a lot of funky abstracts and cool graphic pieces, and because I used to be a graphic designer, this piece really spoke to me. And then I also have, these are waiting to find another home again, the mugshots here. And they're just really fun and weird, which goes to show anything can be art if you want it to be art. The wallpaper is from a company called Pacific Design Wallpaper, and it has almost like a metallic look to it inside of it, and then it's also texture. So it's this really, really, really beautiful, rich kind of looking wall that just pops like crazy. And I absolutely love it. It's perfect in here. This is the other Rudy Stern lamp, and we'll see if it turns on. Yes. So This is his Let There Be Neon lights, and you will recognize this from the one downstairs that was in black and white. This one, when you leave it on at night and then you see it outside, it looks crazy. Like, you're like, weirdos live here, because the whole room is just lit up in this pink red room. A lot of people think that this is art, but it's not. It's a very sculptural piece, but it's actually a light. It's by Blueprint Lighting, and this is a sconce, and it actually is articulating, so you can move it in different places or different arrangements, and it looks super cool. Right now, because I have it on this beautiful wallpaper, it just stays here. The rug is by Karastan, and it's one of the Stacy Garcia designs. I think it's just really fun and bold and graphic. I kind of got crazy in this room, and I love how it turned out. It was just one of those buy things that you love. The chair is from an estate sale. How many times can I say that? It's Roche Beaubois, and it is the most comfortable lounger that you have ever sat in. In fact, it might be more comfortable than the Croissant. This is an entertainment system that I thought would be a really great place for me to store all of my design books, my printers, things like that, kind of hide it all away. And if you want a little look inside, I will show you. It is a mess, but it keeps that mess contained, which is great. And it has more of like a grass cloth cover, so it gives the room a lot of texture. If you want to look at the light, we'll look up. This is the Lotus lamp, or the Lotus chandelier from Hudson Valley Lighting. I saw this in High Point Market one year, and I said, I must have it, because I absolutely just, it was one of those show-stopping pieces. So I knew when I was putting this room together during the pandemic that it needed to be one of those shots, or it needed to be one of those lights that had to be in this room, because I said I will own it one day. Now let's head into the home gym. This was a door that was actually here before, and I asked my contractor, can you make it into an arch? And I love how that turned out. The home gym and my home office were designed during the pandemic for the One Room Challenge. I actually started this in February of 2020, pre-pandemic, pre-lockdown, not realizing how important a home office and home gym would be. So I guess I chose wisely. But when I redesigned this room, this was all storage for my shop. And it was kind of one of those disaster storage rooms. Now this is used by me, my son, my daughter, and my husband. We absolutely love it. And it comes in super handy. We have pretty much anything that you could want in a gym without the machines. So you have the barbell, you have the ergata rower, and then you also have the Peloton bike. What more could you need? The barbells to save room are adjustable. So those go up to 50 pounds, actually 55 pounds, I believe, each, which is great. The art that I have in here is kind of naughty art. It's obviously women, but I purchased it on auction. I have it in here because, you know, it's the women's figure, women's body. This was supposed to be, when I first designed this space, it was supposed to be a non-bro gym. Now my husband and son use it, so it's turning a little bro-like. But everything in here was very feminine. You have the pinks and the purples and things like that, which, you know, you're putting it together with weightlifting stuff. It kind of balances it out. This hutch used to belong to my great-grandmother, and my grandfather gave it to my grandmother, who didn't like my great-grandmother, and she refused to take it. So when she found out I wanted a hutch, my grandmother gave it to me, and I thought it was super special, but it was because she hated it and she just wanted it out of her house. Kind of a funny little story. I painted it black, and now I keep just extra towels and stuff. These are more for the guests. If they come and they need anything, they can just grab and go. My favorite part about my home is when I have friends over and they come in and they look around and they see that stuff has moved. They have their favorite pieces, and I love hearing what their favorite piece is, because basically every piece in my home is my favorite piece. They're like my favorite child, every single one. So when a guest gravitates towards a specific piece, like, I just love to hear why. If you're happy in your home and you can walk into a room and you can see certain items and they make you smile, that is what brings you that happiness, and that, you know, gives you life. Now let's head into the primary bedroom. This little sitting area is not used very often, but it's great to have the extra storage. And these lamps were custom done by a woman whose friend or son had a marble company. So she chose the actual pieces and designed the lamps herself. I bought them from her estate sale. This is the primary bedroom. The wallpaper is really bold and dark. I was a little nervous about it, but I wanted to step outside of my comfort zone. This is by Philip Jeffries, and it's their broad strokes pattern. Absolutely love it. The nightstands are by Brownstone Furniture, also purchased from an estate sale because I cannot afford brownstone furniture. And these are, the name escapes me, but it's from a local vintage shop. I believe their name is Chicago Vintage Department on Instagram, and they have great little finds. So remember when I said, tell me where I should put this mirror? This is where I want to put that mirror, because this piece by Kittinger is way too small, and I'm actually selling it. So it will hopefully be gone one day, and this space will be empty. But it's kind of this odd nook that I don't know what to do with. So this is one of those areas that's not finished yet and in limbo. So do we like the mirror here or downstairs in the dining room? Personally, a mirror, the thing that's holding me back is, one, carrying it up the stairs, and two, there's that whole feng shui thing where you're not supposed to have a mirror facing your bed, and that got into my head. The color of the curtains in here, I wasn't super sure of. I was planning on changing them out. I thought they would be too drastic or too golden black. I like it. I almost say I love it. But then I also thought maybe a soft pink would go in here like really well too, to kind of make it a little bit more feminine and pick up this piece in this artwork, this little bit of blush right here. I don't know. You tell me. We have a lot of you tell me in the comments. Like I said, my house is always changing. Nothing's perfect. Nothing's set in stone. It is what it is. This corner is kind of one of those places that doesn't get used but looks pretty. This chest is used for storage. It's also from the Chicago Vintage Department. I absolutely love it. I think having that big pop of chrome, yet mixing the colors with the brass here works really well. And you'll have more brass here and brass gold here and the brass bowl as well. I always like to mix my metals if possible. Not where it's crazy, but just where it gives it a little bit more of an interest. The tassel lamp is a vintage piece. This was made by a gentleman out of Mexico City. And this piece is from Universal Furniture, and it actually spins. And it's super comfortable. You may notice that there is another sheep here. He is a match to the one that is in the front room. And he is an ottoman. So you can just put your feet up on him if you'd like. The television is the Frame by Samsung. I don't have it lit with art right now, but it is lightable with art of whatever your choosing is. And then that's sitting on a vintage dresser. You have some of the MCM kind of vibe in here with the Hollywood Regency, with the postmodern and mid-century modern, and it's all just this big mix of design, which makes that eclectic look because you're not sticking with one specific design. If we go over here, this is a mid-century modern light that the name escapes me right now. Sergio, maybe? Gosh, I forget. Anyway, it has just this very mid-century modern yet super ultra modern look mixed with the ceiling light or the ceiling medallion, and it has this funky juxtaposition where you have the modern and you have the old. When I first started designing this room, the bed and the headboard was against an all-white wall, and I really wanted it to pop because you couldn't see it. It didn't do anything. It was just flat. So I went all out and went for full-on drama with this gorgeous wall covering here from Philip Jeffries, to the point that I'm almost not wanting to put any art above it, which that sounds weird, not having art above your bed. I think everybody has art above their bed, right? But I think that the wall covering is art enough that it almost doesn't need it. What does home mean to me? A place to gather, a place to love, a place for special moments, a place for private moments, and a place to celebrate those little things in life with each other.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.